All right. It's another Wednesday night, and this is Cubfidential. I am your producer, Denzel Snipes. We've got a great show for you. We got another guest on who's here to talk about the Cubs Twin Series. We're going to talk about the Cubs Card Series, a bunch of other stuff as well. But, you know, there's a little somebody out there who could do a little bit better than me. Let's go ahead and bring him in. J.B. Ellis, Brooklyn bad boy himself, who's now the Chicago Crusader. Come on in, JB.
What's going on, Jay?
Hey, doing all right, man. How you been?
Doing good, doing good. Good night for the Cubbies. They're winning right now, 6-1. But let's go back to last weekend. We got a special guest coming all the way from Minnesota. We got Troy Geary coming on tonight. He was at the games last week. I know he was on Marquee on Sunday, on Mother's Day. He was on Marquee to talk about the game. He's going to come in and give us a little bit about the series, what he saw. Welcome to the show, Troy. How you doing?
Thanks for having me, JB. I'm doing great.
Pleasure. So, what games did you go to last weekend?
I went to all three of them.
Okay, so that's great. So, I mean, Friday night the Cubs were winning 3-2, and then in the night they broke it open and ended up winning 6-2. The only win they got in the series. What did you see that game from both teams?
Yeah, Twins' best pitcher, Sonny Gray, started that. He only pitched 5 in an inning, or 5 and 2/3, I think. As soon as he got out of the game, the Cubs bats kind of came alive there in the seventh and ninth and squeezed that win out. Christopher Morel, I'm impressed with him. You know, he's done a lot in the last week. I think most of his home runs now have been over 400 feet. I know they got blown out Saturday and Sunday, but he hit one, probably the longest ball I've ever seen hit at Target Field on Sunday, and 462 feet, I think it was. So it was
Wow.
impressive.
And I mean, the Twins are doing what the Twins do. They're in first place in the Central, playing solid, a good team. No, I wouldn't go out there and say that they have the one superstar that everyone's excited to see, but they play good team ball. They have some good pitching, some good bats, but they're not flashy. They just go out there and win games. Why are the Twins so successful?
I mean, I think it starts with their front office and their manager. I mean, Rocco Baldelli, that was a great hire. He's more analytics driven. And they are pitching in Minnesota. I mean, it's hard to get pitching anyways, but and they were lucky to kind of fall back on Carlos Correa after all that. The thing with him went down with the failed physicals. First signing with the Giants and then the Mets, and then I think he figured out that he could go back to Minnesota, given that they knew his his medical history, and so he's kind of have been up and down all year. He hasn't really figured it out yet, but he got booed for the first time last week, so hopefully he can figure it out. But yeah, their pitching has been pretty good this year, and if they can start as it's warming up here, get the bats going, I think they should have no problem winning this division.
Yeah, I mean, they scored 27 runs Saturday and Sunday off a Cubs pitching staff that's been doing really well this year, much better than expected. What was the key for their offense on those two games?
I mean, they got Alex Kirilloff back. He's a first round draft pick and really highly touted in the Twins organization, but he's been having a lot of injury issues the last couple years with a wrist, and I think it's finally healed. He had 2 home runs on Saturday and one on Sunday. Of course, it came off of Rwinski, who I just saw was demoted today. But Stroman, he's been having a great year, and I wasn't expecting that on Sunday, where he was out of the game and by the third inning.
Yeah, I mean, it happens. Pitchers have bad days, and the Twins are a really good team. Nobody ever respects the Twins. Nobody ever says, "Oh, the Twins are going to win the division." Before the year was the Guardians or the White Sox were going to do it. And all the Twins do is just go out and win games. They play tough, good pitching, like you said, and obviously timely hitting, 27 runs, you know. So, what was Mother's Day like at the stadium? I know you got to go on Marquee and talk about the series. What was that experience like?
Oh, that was great. I mean, before the game, I got to go down the field. I talked to Eric Hosmer, who I have some Kansas City connections with, and just kind of chatting with him and see how he was doing. And talking about his eventually replacement in Matt Murphys, Murphys, And he says he's not feeling the pressure, but I think he is. He knows that he's the next first baseman in Chicago, and he's just trying to kind of hold on for another year or two before he wraps up his great career. But talking to Jim Deshaies and John Sciambi, right before the game was probably one of my top, sports memories so far. I mean, both great guys. I've been watching Sciambi for years on ESPN, and Jim Deshaies, he played for the Twins, and I've seen him when I was younger. So that was a great experience.
So, I mean, the Twins right now are playing the Dodgers. They're holding their own. Going from the Cubs going out to LA with this interleague play where everyone plays everybody. Do you think that benefits the Twins, or do you think that it hurts them having to play all of the whole National League?
Well, now with the universal designated hitter, I guess there's really no advantage of going from American League to a National League game or a team, since the pitchers don't hit anymore. But yeah, the travel, of course, going from Minnesota all the way to LA, and then I think they're out on the West Coast for a couple more series, but it could be hard on a team. But it's early on, so usually you get that towards the end of the year. I think they lost today. I think they won last night and lost the first game. So one out of two against the Dodgers, which is they're not the Dodgers of old, so probably wasn't what they were expecting.
So tell us a little bit about the fans in Target Field. Were there are a lot of Cub fans that made the trip, because it's not too far from Chicago. It's maybe about a
Yeah, I would
6 hour
say it was
drive or a small
probably
flight.
half and half. There's probably at least 50%, at least on Saturday and Sunday. Friday night it was a little windy, so I think most of the Cubs fans were there for the weekend. That's for sure. It was probably, I would say, yeah, about 50%. A lot of blue out there.
So another thing for the fans from Chicago that haven't been out to Target Field, describe what the place is like, because I've been there and I think it's got to be one of the nicer stadiums I've been to. But what's it like in Target Field?
Yeah, I mean it's pretty enclosed, so anywhere you sit is a great seat. There's not a bad seat in the house. It's kind of designed where you're kind of over the top of everything, so it feels like you're closer than you are. The crowd, if they get into it, get pretty loud in there. And then you see the skyline downtown Minneapolis. Pretty great picture at night, seeing everything, and the downtown skyline is a pretty good sight at night.
So what do the Twins need to do to make the World Series this year?
Well, I mean, like everybody, it comes down to pitching. I mean, they have two or three good pitchers right now. They had some injuries, some guys that are going to be out for a while. But I think as the weather warms up, I think hopefully the bats will do the same, and they can at least got them winning the division. Their biggest problem is when they get the postseason, they always play the Yankees, and the Yankees are their biggest thorn in their side. They just can't seem to win a game against them. So if they don't match up against the Yankees in the first round of the playoffs, if they get that far, I think they can at least get to the second round. But for a World Series, there's going to be, you need some, a lot of probably a July 31st trade deadline acquisition, maybe another pitcher. They got Lopez for a rise, and that for a long time up here, that was, not a lot of people liked that. Rise was a fan favorite, 300 hitter. In the first 2 weeks, he was batting 500 in Miami, and Lopez was kind of struggling, but, he's kind of came on since then, and hopefully people up here will forget about that trade, and he'll be a good acquisition going forward.
I'm seeing a Strahan jersey in the background, so I already like the setup that you have going. It's always a good thing. I feel welcoming when I see my New York Giants colors. So you think the Twins will be buyers at the deadline?
Yeah, I mean, if they're still in first or pretty close to it, I think they're going to be buyers. That's for sure.
Okay. And, out of the current Twins players, who's your favorite to watch that you've seen most?
When he's on the field, I like Byron Buxton, but his issue too has been hurt the last couple of years. So if he can stay on the field, he has every makings of being an all-star player year in, year out.
Well, Troy, we appreciate you taking the time to come on and talk a little bit about the series last week and let us know more about the Twins. You're always welcome to come on. But you have a great night, and thanks so much for coming on Confidential.
All right. Thanks a lot, JB. I really appreciate it.
Our pleasure. Have a good one, Troy.
Yep.
All right. So without further ado, we have our one and only Mr. Ubbs. We got some serious conversation to have tonight, Mr. Ubbs. I don't know where you are. I'm waiting for Mr. Ubbs. He's waving in the background. There he is.
I am. I don't know what happened. We're still learning about all this thing here. So
turn your phone sideways.
what the heck, right?
There you go.
Yeah, why not, right?
Let's see you. Let's actually see Mr. Ubbs.
Absolutely. You can see the beard.
So we're struggling, Mr. Ubbs. What's going on?
I mean, for one thing, I was bringing up to you last week. I think this is a team. I like the team. I think they are fun to watch, especially Christopher Morel. I like the excitement they bring, but I think they're a manager away.
I actually was very happy was it this morning or yesterday morning? One of the two. It had to be yesterday morning. They were talking on WGN that they're starting to blame Ross, and I felt like that people are starting to hear me.
Right.
Like I feel like I've yelled and shouted about it long enough. It's been a season and a half. This is season 2 of Cubfidential. I remember season 1. That's all I kept saying. This year I've been kind of laid back. I've let him. He's done some things that have satisfied me. And I've been less on him, and now everyone else is starting to blame him. It's
the biggest thing about it is the one good thing that he's doing is he's other than Horner, being hurt and everything. I think he's had to change some stuff around. He's kept the same lineups, which I'll give him that credit. But in the end, he still doesn't know. I mean, there's still a lot of things he needs. He still needs to be able to know what to do with the bullpen in bigger situations. There are still times that he doesn't know. He doesn't see when they're having an off game. They're getting blown out and make the decisions that he makes. Those are just some tough things that he does. And those are things that you really learn in the minors, which you've heard me say, I'd rather him started there. Like Snitker did, what was the Cardinal? Schilt. Those kind of guys, Snitker did, Schilt did. Those guys started in the minors. You see how great they are and were. And those are the types. And it's like Ross starts immediately getting off the bench playing mentor from Madden. And it's like he wasn't ready. And it shows that.
I'm not really too upset, though, losing 2 to the Twins. The Twins are a really good team. We lost 2 to the Astros. Theoretically, we should win tonight at 6-1 in the top of the 8th. So, and again, it'll be, we lost 2 out of 3. Again, another really good team. I'm not upset about taking 1 out of 3 from these good teams. In
Right.
my mind, when you're playing certain teams, if you win 1 out of 3, you've done your job. You're not gonna. Of course, you want to win 2 out of 3. You don't want what happened to Minnesota over the weekend to have a 27 to 4 for over the last 2 games, or 20, whatever it was, 27 to way not enough. But you can't give up 27 runs in 2 games. But again, you won the 1 game, so the series isn't a total loss. And then you move on to the next series, which is Houston, which is another tough one. And odds are you're losing 2 out of 3. At least they're getting the 1 win. The difference between a mediocre team and an okay team is turning that into a 3-3, taking 2 in one series and 1 in the other.
Yeah.
That's the difference. And, I look at it as, you can't have 2 blowouts in a row. That's just bad. And you got to hit.
Well, I think a lot of things that happen with the blowouts by themselves is early inning decisions. And that's what Ross has been a big issue with, is the early inning decisions. And then from there on out, okay, it doesn't matter if you're 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th and you're stopping. You're already gone. And
Right.
You've made some. And really, I think the only thing that helps us with the fact that there's no more shift is the fact that that's one less stupid thing Ross would do. It's what, to try to look like a manager. But my thing with him, I think Ross is a really good guy. I think all of these years he knows this game, but as a manager, you need to be able to teach kids first. You need to move up in the area. You maybe need to be a third base coach. You need to do all that kind of stuff. He went straight into the Lions' den, learning from a guy who took 25 years to understand that system. You know what I mean? To take 25 years to understand and know the system. And all of a sudden he thinks, oh, I know. So then I'm going to do everything Madden did. Madden moved, he moved these players around. He moved all these. I mean, when Dexter Fowler was retired, he moved everybody there. But he also had so many years and he can make the right decisions. When you're not ready, you're not ready. Sometimes you just need to go back to the basics. You learn those basics in the minors.
So let's go back to the Cardinal series. So I'm going to start with the standing ovation to Contreras, which I don't like. As a competitor in me, I don't like it.
Right.
And he ends up beating you game one. You lose 2 out of 3 to the Cardinals. You lose that series to a team that's in last place. How do you think that to me is not something you can do?
Yeah, I told you that, but that was the thing. They're starting to get a little bit hot too, and that's what I was saying. I always worry about that dang team, even if they're dead last place or whatever. They're gonna find somewhere, and it's like when we started with them, they literally have lost like 10 out of 12, and then they get 2 out of 3 from us. It's like they're going to always find their way because it's not necessarily the team. We know Ali is not a great manager. But it's just the organization. It's what I want the Cubs to be one day. I want that where they're just consistently there. And even if you're struggling, you're going to find your way out. It's like we all want to win 20 World Series, 26 World Series or 7, like the Yankees. But the next best thing is the consistency of continuing to be around. The Cubs aren't even there. You know what I mean?
No, without a doubt. I agree. I mean, I think they had a great offseason. I like the moves they made. I like the fact that they brought the young guys up and they give them playing time. Speaking of bringing guys up, when you bring guys up, you got to send guys down. And Hayden Wisniewski was sent down to AAA.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
It's going to happen. I mean, we've seen it from the beginning of time with baseball. It's like if you don't have any clout to have those kind of games, there are big players that can have 7, 8, 9 of those in a row. When you don't have the clout to have 1 or 2 bad ones, you're gone. And see, one of the biggest things is if you don't figure it out to be able to have any consistency, eventually you run out of time. So you got to figure. They've got great talent. He's got great talent. He's got nice pitch. He's got a nice arm, but you got to be able to keep consistency, or you're going to go from minor league deals the rest of your life, and you just got to make sure to figure it out.
Yeah, tonight we're stranding a lot of runners on base. That'll be next week's topic. A lot of guys left on base tonight. But yeah, I agree with you with Wisniewski. I think he's got a good arm. He's just been too inconsistent. And that brings us to the guy who's coming back really soon. We got Kyle Hendricks, who's on his way back. Another good rehab start, 5 innings pitched, 4 strikeouts. Probably going to be returning within the next couple of weeks. How does this change this pitching staff?
Well, it gives them there's a lot of powerful arms, and it gets them a nice control arm right there. But the thing about Hendricks, I'll tell you this, Kyle Hendricks would be a complete and utter nightmare in the minors for minor league hitters. Complete nightmare. Minor leaguers are 97, 98, 96, maybe hard sliders, everything. This guy just throws easy and you know how impatient so many minor league hitters are. There would be the 5 innings pitch of 4 Ks. He would get them. He'd get the easy ground ball there. So if he would make, I'm just saying, I love that Hendricks is coming back, but he'd be a 20-game winner every year in every minor league ever. If he was a career minor leaguer, because he'd be a nightmare for those types who have impatience.
Definitely possible. I mean, he's a great pitcher and, a lot of control. But I think once he comes up, the starting rotation is going to be very solid. If the bullpen keeps doing what it's been doing, I think that changes, having 3 top-rate starters.
Yep.
gives you a chance to win, 2 out of every 5 games without thought, and 3 out of 5 to 4 out of 5 consistently.
Oh, you know me, how much I've loved Kyle Hendricks and that. I didn't believe, just because of his control and everything, I didn't believe he had those. I just thought when you heard me and I was wrong. When I first heard that he was going out, I just thought it can't be that bad. They're just going to let it go. They're having a terrible year. But then he had the surgery. So I'm guessing it's just one of those things where he had a bad shoulder, and it was like an 8-year oil tune-up. You know what I mean? So,
Yep.
Remember, he wasn't hurt at all before that point. So maybe you just had to have a little tune-up.
So before we go to the Hot Cub Time Machine, we're going to do a special This Cubs for You this week.
Mm-hmm.
We got Seiya Suzuki tonight with 2 home runs on 2 sliders. Do you know how many home runs he's hit on sliders before tonight?
How many?
2. So he's double that tonight.
You just figure it out sometimes.
Listen, some days it's your day. You wake up and you just can't do no wrong.
Well, it depends on the slider also. How high is the slider? Some sliders you just chase. Sometimes the sliders start high and then you nail it. It comes right down to you. Who knows?
Yeah, but so I'm going to give him the This Cubs for You just for that. Well, let's go to the Hot Cub Time Machine, my favorite segment of the show.
Yeah.
Tell us about one of the greatest closers in Major League history.
Well, here's the thing I think about is like these powerful kind of pitchers. I think of, like, for instance, I looked up a little stat that I was interested in just before the show. How many hit by pitches from Mitch Williams? I'm not kidding you. In 10 seasons, he had 52 hit by pitch. As far as how many hitters he hit. In the 12 seasons for a Bruce Sutter, I'm not kidding you, 13. You know how many Lee Smith, for as powerful pitchers he was? 10. So it showed, but see, and the thing is, there are a lot of the pitchers now with the power, lose a lot more control as the years gone by. They had a lot more control. And the one thing I give Bruce Sutter, he led the saves 5 times. But do you want to know 4 of those years in his career, he had 100 strikeout years. He was just a big power pitcher and an intimidation.
So
as he got older, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Right now, it's 6-2. The Astros just hit a double to drive in a run to the deepest part of the park. If it would have went 2 feet to the left, it would have been a home run.
Right.
But you know how they have the cutout in the outfield in Houston?
Yeah.
It hit the fence there. It was a nice shot. Are you starting to worry with no outs here? 6-2 lighter on the mound?
You can never know. You can never know in Houston. It's like you can get a grand slam in that sucker and like bunting it. But what I was bringing up with Sutter is he came from big power, and this was the thing. A lot of pitchers can't adjust like this. He came from big power pitcher with over 100 strikeouts a year to a more control pitcher with as he got older, a control pitcher that got ground outs, and that's the thing. You did not see that often.
We didn't see that often, just like we're not seeing Jacob anymore. So, we're talking about Bruce Sutter, who's one of the greatest relievers of all time. I mean, he led the NL in saves 5 different times. He's a great power pitcher. That builds the old time, like you look at the movies where they show the pitcher, with the mustache that looks like he's a little scary. That's the kind of guy he was. Mr. Ubbs, you look different.
Yeah, I went through a little transformation. Like whenever Urkel steps in a machine and becomes Stefan Urkel. Well, I'm the Stefan Urkel version of Mr. Ubbs.
Nice. So, what can you tell us about Bruce Sutter while you're here? What do you remember about him?
Anybody who leads the National League in saves 5 times definitely belongs on somebody's Mount Rushmore of closers. Is it fair to say that he was Mariano before Mariano?
The only difference, Mariano was probably more dominant.
Yeah.
His ERA his ERA, I mean, and I'm guessing, I don't know, I don't have Suter stats in front of me. I think Mariano had a better ERA. His postseason ERA was phenomenal, and Mariano had that one cutter that nobody could hit. When he was on, he was untouchable. Suter was phenomenal, as was Lee Smith, as was Trevor Hoffman. There's
Right.
countless number of relievers, national leaguers that were, top notch. But, I'm not going to go ahead and compare him to Mariano. Mariano has a 2.22 ERA. And Suter was
Suter's a
2.85.
Yep.
So I mean, it's not. It's about a little bit over a half run, 6.63.
Yeah, a half run. Yeah, that's about close. As far as the ERA.
Listen, I'm not taking anything away from Suter. He was phenomenal, and like I said, he was another one of those guys that it looked like the guys from the movies, that scary pitcher.
Yeah.
That's what he looked like, and you see him play, and I hear Mr. Ubbs in the background making some rustling. We can't hear you though. We like to hear you.
He's coming back.
He's coming back.
Come on.
We're in trouble. You there? No. You're out of bounds. He's out of bounds.
I think he says he's out of bounds. Or he's out of power. Might have been out of power. I mean, well, just one more point before we move on. If you really think about it, though, is the successors are supposed to be better than the predecessors in theory, right?
Right.
So whenever you get a guy like Suter, and then his next in line is Rivera, that kind of lines up. I mean, you look at it. He led in saves 5 times for the National League. He had 2.85 earned run average. Then you get Mariano, right? And he's got a 2.22 ERA. So in theory, the guy after him should be like lower, right? Now, I don't know when that'll happen because Mariano was a generational talent. I'll go that far. I'll say he was a generational talent, But this is why I said he may have been Mariano before Mariano was, because, granted, yes, Mariano was better, but in theory, your successor is supposed to be better than the predecessor.
The only reason why I say Mariano is by far better, postseason. Mariano was untouchable in the postseason. When it counted, he was the guy to go to. Suter was phenomenal. I'm never going to take anything away from him. Hall of Famer, great pitcher. If I'm starting a fantasy league, of closers from all time, I have no problem if I get stuck with Suter on my team, or if that's my pick. If he's the best closer at what is my pick.
Right.
Where you'd put him in the list of great closers is probably a good question. I mean, let's think about closers. You have Mariano, who's got to be number one.
Mariano, yeah.
You got Eckersley, Hoffman, Suter. Who else would be in the top 5 that would knock one of those out? Because I think that's
Hoffman,
your top 5.
Suter, not Hershiser. He was a starting pitcher.
Yeah.
You know what? You could probably throw Kenny Jansen up there. I don't know about a top 5. No, not a top 5.
Not top 5 all time.
Not top 5 all time.
Yeah, I think Suter's in the top. In my opinion, I can't. Maybe I'm just missing somebody because it's late at night and we weren't thinking about ranking the closers. But I think he's top 5 all time right now, unless I'm missing somebody.
No, I'd say it's correct as of right now.
Let's bring Mr. Ubbs in. He may know. Mr. Ubbs. Can't really hear you. We can see you, which is scary, but hearing is not working. Bye-bye.
I can barely hear him.
Bye-bye.
I can barely hear him. Hope he gets his
Mr. Ubbs, if you can hear us, Mr. Ubbs, in the private chat, besides Hoffman, Rivera, Eckersley, Suter, I forgot the 5th one already.
Yeah, who in theory would be number 5?
Closers that may be better that of all time.
Lee
Lee
Smith.
Smith. I think Suter was better than Smith, in my opinion.
Mm.
I liked Suter. I thought he was a great pitcher.
Yeah.
Not that I think
He's
Lee Smith is bad, but I think Suter was just a drop better.
Raleigh
Raleigh
Fingers.
was Fingers a closer. Goose was good. I think Suter was better than Goose. Goose is definitely the guy from the movie, though.
Yeah.
Whenever you see that's dead on Goose Gossage.
Yeah.
But Suter had the same type of look, but Goose was definitely that guy you don't want to face.
Yeah. Hey, Goose had 310 saves. Fingers had 341.
I don't know. The number
What was Mariano's career number?
You got me. We'll have to wait and find out.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Raleigh Fingers just never scared me.
608. I knew it was up there. It had to be double that.
Yeah. Well, yeah,
Had
because
to
he
been double
was from
that.
'96.
True.
Wetland closed. Wetland closed in '96, and then Rivera started closing after. Because Wetland closed for the first World Series, if I'm correct.
Yes. Lee Smith had 478.
Yeah.
Suter did win a title in '82.
Oh, we don't want to talk about that title. We'll keep that title elsewhere.
Oh boy.
All right. Let's get to the Cub or Dud. But and you know what? Throw on the Cubfidential Twitter if you're watching your top 5 relievers of all time. And let's see where you put these guys in. I don't think you're going to go wrong with any of this list. I mean, Hoffman, Fingers, Goose, Lee, Suter. These are all great closers.
Very much.
But for me, Mariano's a clear one. After that, 2 to 5. I don't think there's anybody that's a bad choice, but
right.
I always thought Suter was one of the best.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Only one to lead 5. Only one to lead. Saves 5 times. I mean, that's crazy. And I think 3 of those seasons were with Chicago. But well, I guess I covered Dub.
So Cub or Dud? Will Mr. Ubbs actually have audio?
Yes, I do.
Yay!
Yes, but this is on low battery, so we're just going to go as fast as we can.
Okay, Mr. Ubbs. So Cub or Dud? The Cubs will win 4 out of 6 versus Phillies and the Mets.
If not 4 out of 6, 3 out of 6. I just really, really like their excitement, and they can really shock you. And they can shock you, get a big. I could see, believe it or not, lose 2 out of 3 to Philly and win 2 out of 3 against the Mets. The Mets are not impressing me that much.
Okay.
So maybe 4 out of 6. It wouldn't hurt. It wouldn't hurt. And by the way, to answer that question, I've always was a big Lee Smith fan. But that was one of those things where what I was trying to say before I pounded out was Suter found a way to go from the big powerhouse pitcher to the control pitcher and ground ball pitcher. He didn't strike out as many anymore after a certain time. So that was one of those that don't do that too often, because usually it's still a strikeout league.
Listen, I think that they're both phenomenal. I don't think any of these guys are bad choices. If you were playing Stratomatic baseball with all-time closers, if I gave you Lee Smith, Bruce Suter, Raleigh Fingers, Trevor Hoffman, you're not going to be like, oh man, I got this guy, unless you just happen to dislike him,
right?
Which, that happens in life.
Hey, we can always say Joe Borowski.
But I don't think you're going to be upset with any of those guys.
No.
So I think they were phenomenal, all in their own respect. But we're done for the night, Mr. Ubbs. Where can we find you?
Sunday nights, Basketballs, Monday nights, Pundit Views, Wednesday nights, Pundit's Pundit, the Sports Exchange, and here, Cubfidential. Trying to get Yin and Yang back. Friday nights, when they need me is Gauntlet. working on movie ideas, and I got a video game show idea I'm working on, so I'm always busy.
Sounds like you got nothing to do.
Not at all.
So Cubs up 6-3, top of the ninth, no outs. Well, 1 out now and a strikeout. Mancini going back to the bench. Mr. Ubbs, we'll see you next week.
Sorry about that earlier, bud. Sorry about that.
It's okay. No worries. This has been Cubfidential. We're here every Wednesday, 10 p.m. Every once in a while, we'll get a great guest like we had Troy Geary tonight, who covered the Twins out against the Cubs series. And if not, we always got Mr. Ubbs.
You bet.
You know, only the best Cubs analysts going out there. But until next week, you're watching Sideline Sports. Remember, Tuesday, 8:30. We got Wednesday, we got the Pundits Pundit. We got the South Florida Sports Exchange, and then Cubfidential for the triple header. We'll see you next Wednesday for Cubfidential. Until then, we're out of here. Good night.